So Ben is going to talk us through how these improvement areas are calculated in the tool, what they look like for the user, and how those three scores come together in order to give us the improvement areas. So I'll pass you over to Ben.
Thanks, Gillian. There we go. So you should see on screen now that this is again the same example I've been using throughout, which, as Gillian pointed out, has the checklist, applicant mode, and assessor mode completed previously. So I'll skip past that, but just know that we've actually saved results in each of those three features before we can get the full improvement area analysis. So we click into the improvement area analysis for this particular example. And once it loads up, you'll see here that, okay, the first thing it does, you can select the stage if you want, but it can infer which stage to use in the analysis based on the checklist results. So if you recall the checklist example we ran through at the start, they had completed all of stage 0 and stage 1 and 21% of stage 2. So the logic for how it infers the stage to use is it finds the earliest stage after the latest one that's achieved 100%. So in this case, stage 0 and stage 1 were both 100% complete. So it's the next one after stage 1 or stage 2. And then the stage also defines which stage gate to use for the analysis. It's the one in between. So stage gate 1 to 2 in this case. So this automatically loaded stage 2 for this particular example. This bit of text explains exactly how the improvement areas are calculated. This user input box here is what defines what's known as the improvement area threshold, which is by default 50%. And then these are the actual improvement areas here at the bottom. So you see they are the list of those evaluation areas which could be considered as areas of weakness or things that you should consider working on. And just to explain exactly what these scores are, so there's the checklist score, which is how much of that particular evaluation area you've completed for the selected stage, stage 2. Metric score is if you've set some thresholds. Say, for example, you set 3 thresholds for a single evaluation area. The metric score is how many of those have passed, expressed as a percentage. So as we showed in the applicant mode, we had one acceptability metric, which was the jobs created, which failed. So we only set one and it didn't pass, so that's 0%. And finally, the weighted average assessor score, which is the weighted average of all the assessor scores once they're added up together, after an assessor has gone through and marked each qualitative and quantitative answer. Controllability here is NA because there are no specific questions or metrics tagged to controllability. And then the average improvement area score is simply the average of these 3 numbers where applicable. So this one is 0 is just equal to the checklist score because these are not applicable, whereas this 13 is the average of these 3 numbers. And the improvement areas are presented in ascending order. So the worst improvement area score first. And this defines the cutoff, what is considered an improvement area. So as I said, the default is 50%, but you can increase it and click go and it should update. So you see the final power capture who just appeared with 83%, or you can lower and say we'll only consider something that's below 30% to be an improvement area, and then you get the new set of improvement areas. You can also change, okay, I don't want to use the default stage, I want to, okay, if I base the analysis on stage 1, which means stage 1 and stage gate 0 to 1, then there's no improvement areas because we set the threshold at 30%. We didn't do any quantitative stuff or assessor mode for this, so it's only based on the checklist score, and that's all 100% because we completed stage 1. And then I'm going to hand back to Gillian, but with the thought of going how these improvement areas can be used as an excellent starting point for the structured innovation module. Yeah, so I'll let Gillian expand on that a bit, and I'll jump back to her.
Thanks, Ben. So as the user goes through the improvement areas in the stage gate design tool, they'll then be given, as Ben has showed, this list of different evaluation areas which would be good to focus on, and these have been calculated with some thought on what they've completed in their activity checklist and how they've performed from an assessor. So this could be, for example, they want to focus more on reliability, and that would be a good place to improve upon. So how this can then be used is that the structured innovation tool in the DTOceanPlus suite of tools is there for concept creation, but also to improve concepts. And when you first enter the structured innovation tool, you'll be asked for your high-level needs and your customer requirements and how important they are to you. And so the link with the stage gate tool is you've got a ready-made set of here's the things that are most important to me in my technology development list. And so it'll give you that good starting point to then move forward and use the structured innovation tool, potentially improve on that idea and come up with some innovation. And then the user could even circle back and then run the stage gate assessment again with those improvements in mind to get an idea of how that would change their assessment. So if you'd like to learn more about the structured innovation tool, there's plenty on the DTOceanPlus website as well, and webinars have been recorded. And just a reminder to pop your questions in the questions box as we go, because we're going to have some time for a Q&A at the end.
Just to add a quick example of the use of the stage gate tool in this fashion, because it effectively provides a technology developer with an opportunity to do some self-assessment, to go through through a common stage gate assessment process, whether that's in reality as part of an assessment, as part of an application process, or whether it's just as part of their planning activities, to use the flexible thresholds to say, what am I trying to achieve by against their own internal thresholds or by some agreed thresholds for a particular market or customer, and be able to see how they're measuring up in terms of the different evaluation areas. Then to be able to say, okay, I think I need to improve my reliability, look at their own internal assessments or the RAMS tool in DTOceanPlus to try and identify where the sources of reliability failures are, where they're coming from in the technology, and then take that knowledge and pass on to the structured innovation tool, which is a very capable tool in terms of assessing your own technologies, assessing your own requirements and objectives, and trying to identify where those sources of improvement can come from. So a really good example is someone like Orbital Marine with their floating tidal turbines. They've gone all the way through these iterations of their technology, from the SR250 to the SR2000, then onto the current model, the O2, being tested in Orkney, and clearly will be on a long technology development path into the future with continuous cost reduction, continuous improvement. I think they could really benefit from using the stage gate to carry out that self-assessment and their expectations, finding those expectations, and then passing on to the structured innovation tool to try to identify sources of improvement at a high level, and then dig down into how those sources of improvement can be capitalized upon. So many technology developers would fit this use case, but Orbital Marine's a good example of someone who's made lots of innovations already and benefited from them, and will no doubt continue to do that into the future, as the sector matures.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, for showing us that good link between your assessment and then improvements in your technology development.